This is Music, and this is another black metal themed episode of Tapeworm Terror. Welcome to what I guess is the third part of what seems to have become a trilogy on black metal themed cassette tapes in my collection. This time we're going to have a look at this one here, Total Negations Zur Späten Stunde / Zeiträume. It's a compilation of 2 EPs. And I've had a digital copy of this one for a long time that I was sent as kind of some promo material back from when I would write a lot of music reviews for webzines and things like that. But I came across this one. I stumbled upon it basically by coincidence in the wild, and I decided to pick it up because I wanted a physical copy of this. And you'll see why that was a good idea in a minute or two. The cover art is very intriguing to me. You have this very black metal looking logo, and then you have this kind of weird simple white cube. So let's have a look at the physical and visual side of things first. So the cassette shell itself is this very simple, tasty white. It says Total Negation, Zur Späten Stunde, and then you have the name of the label at the bottom. If you flip it around, same thing, but here it says Zeiträume, so that means you have one EP on one side and the other EP on the other side. So very, very tasty and simple. And it came with this very interesting piece of paper / note here, which has the lyrics. And you got the lineup as well. It's a one-man project. The only member is Wiedergänger. And then there's this note at the top which says, this is not a second album. It combines the 2 EPs, Zur Späten Stunde and Zeiträume. The Zeit trilogy will be completed with the release of the second album, Zeitzeuge. Zur Späten Stunde builds a bridge to Nachts. I assume that's the first album. I'm perfectly aware that most people who listen to the music won't be reading this. I did though, I read this. Especially the ones who downloaded the music. That is unfortunate, but suit yourself. Yeah, the only reason why I read this is because I was lucky enough to find a physical copy of this release. If I hadn't, I wouldn't know this stuff. So I will definitely try to seek out Nachts, and I'm sure Zeitzeuge has been released as well. So vital information, and also a good case for the advantage of having physical music formats. Anyways, the J card, so you have this simple and intriguing cover art. On the back of the J card, you have the track list, and on the spine you have the name of the project, and you have the name of the release. You can fold out the J card, and you have this very, very interesting, very arty looking kind of visual theme here, black and white with the cubes. If you flip it around, now you have a very warm kind of fiery color scheme with twisted picture, probably of Wiedergänger, 3 of him even. And I think that's a very, very interesting kind of contrast as well between the cold and ominous yet intriguing black and white cube kind of thing, and then this kind of twisted, very warm, fiery picture of probably Wiedergänger. Okay, what about the music? That's also interesting because side A and side B sound very different from one another. Side A, Zur Späten Stunde, is depressive black metal. This is a genre that I'm very picky about, but fortunately for me, this is the type of depressive black metal that I actually quite like. So it's it's dark, it's ominous, it's slow without being kind of like doomy slow, but it is doom laden as well. You have some dissonant chords every now and then. You got some experimentation with noise every now and then too. You have some darkly melodic and harmonic chords and some dark melodies as well. The vocals are your mix of tortured screams and anguished screeches, and they have this typical kind of production aesthetic. They're in the background, lots of reverb, and that's a production aesthetic that I normally don't like, except in black metal. It works in black metal, but in other genres it doesn't work for me. So yeah, very, very, very dark and oppressive music for sure. I quite like that it's very bass heavy. The bass is very audible. The bass basically ties everything together. The production is a bit lo-fi-ish, but not raw or anything like that. And you know, I quite like, and you hear this in particular in track 2, Abstieg, which is probably my favorite track on here, along with track 3, Einzug. But in Abstieg, you have kind of like juxtapositions of your dark and doomy and depressive slow parts, and then some, you know, fast tremolo picked blast beaty parts. But what's interesting is that in the blast beaty parts, it seems that Wiedergänger is experimenting with the volume of the drums. So in some places it's loud, and in other kind of sections it's very pianissimo, almost like just atmospheric noise in the background, which is very interesting to me. So side A, depressive black metal, very, very haunting music with tortured vocals. Side B, Zeiträume, yeah, very, very different in style and production. The production seems less lo-fi. The guitar tone is more well defined. It's still, the bass is still audible, so I appreciate that, of course. The drums have a more compact and kind of central production tone to them as well. It's a bit more riffy too, I would say, and you have more kind of fast blast beaty parts too. And you have the harmonica. Yeah, he plays the harmonica on here. Also, this sounds like there's some glockenspiel or something. So, so you have the harmonica, which has a very soft, almost Paris by Night kind of sound to it, on top of sometimes fast blast beaty parts. It sounds bonkers in the good way. The music is still melancholic, but I would not call it depressive black metal. I would call side 2, I would call that a kind of experimental avant-garde black metal, and I really like side 2 as well. It's harder to pick a favorite track from side 2 because they're all so experimental. But maybe it's because I think all the tracks on side 2 are absolutely outstanding. I don't know. But I really enjoy side 2 as well. Weird, bonkers, still melancholic, avant-garde black metal with the melodica on top of both your more depressive and atmospheric parts, but also on top of some of the blast beaty parts. So this is a super interesting release. For the longest time, side B was my favorite side, but now, having listened to it a whole bunch of times again, I don't know, I quite enjoy both sides equally. They're very different from one another. I appreciate that. On side B, the vocals are almost exclusively your tortured screams. So this is a very interesting release. If you like progressive, experimental, avant-garde black metal, side B has got you covered. If you like haunting, dark, oppressive, depressive black metal, side A has got you covered. And I will certainly try to see if I can track down copies of Nacht and Zeitzüge as well. So there you go, total Negation, Zur Späten Stunde / Zeiträume. Super interesting listen. Thanks for watching.